Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Georgie Man and I'm your friendly neighborhood anime and manga fan. I love all things anime and all things manga, and I'm here today to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2 Episode 6. So, what did I think about this week's episode? In all honesty, I absolutely love this week's episode. I think this week's episode was a lot of fun, and it was just really great finally get to see the squad once again, consisting of Megumi, Nobara, and Juji, and just see what they're up to. In typical fashion, they're just up to some stupid, hijinks as usual. And another key element to this week's episode was finally figuring out who was the traitor during the tournament arc, because that had been a question that had been thrown around for the entirety of the show so far. So we finally get some clarity in who was the traitor all along. Now, before I go any further with this week's episode, I just wanted to give you guys a quick reminder to make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you guys can be up to date with all my Jujutsu Kaisen as well as all my anime and manga content that I'll be providing in this channel. It really helps out a lot, and I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. So if you guys could, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into this week's episode. So how this week's episode starts is we get to reunite with the squad once again, and we just see Juji, Megumi, and Nobara. They're just kind of chilling. And we see that they're kind of doing their own thing. They split up, and we see that Nobara wants to go shopping and Juji wants to go watch this movie. And there's a little side plot involving, Juji trying to make Nobara go watch the movie with him, because he's like, dude, you gotta watch it, it's so awesome. And then we get a little bit of context of what movie he's talking about. It was so stupid. To be honest, it was just ridiculous, but that's what I liked it, because it was so silly and dumb. And that's one of the things I always, give mad props to Jujutsu Kaisen, which is their humor, because the humor in this episode was fantastic. Now, while all this is going along, you see that in the background, we catch up with Todo and Mei Mei, and we see that how in the last season, they were recommending who to promote to become, special one grades, and the ones that we saw was Maki, Panda, Nobara, Megumi, and Juji. And we see that, they're pretty much talking about it, and while they're doing all this, they're playing a pinball match. And you just see Todo playing with her, and it's so, he's so into it. And then he's starting to talk to Mei Mei, how he's very excited to looking forward to practicing and being with Juji once again. And you see that Mei Mei just completely breaks his heart by just letting him know from the get-go, like, hey, since we referred them, we cannot team up with them, so that's prohibited, so we cannot do that. And you just see Todo's face just completely dead inside. And I just thought that was hilarious, because Todo, that's his brother right there, his besto friendo. So it was just sad seeing my man just suffer and realize, like, oh man, I can't be with my mans. But on a side note, Mei Mei on that pinball outfit, whew, dear God, you know what they were doing. All I gotta say is Mappa knew what they were doing animating her. And to say that it was a sight to behold will be an understatement, because we all know that Mei Mei is the gothic girl in this franchise. Okay, so just saying. Continuing along, we see that pretty much what's happening is, eventually Nobara bumps into this girl, and this girl apparently had a crush on Juji back when they were in high school. And she used to be a little bit overweight, and she had a lot of self-esteem issues, and she was like, oh, maybe he didn't find me attractive back then, maybe he doesn't remember me. And Nobara was like, oh, we gotta hook you up. And this little side plot involving Juji, pretty much how they're trying to get this girl to date Juji, and then Nobara even brings Megumi along, and it's like, dude, you gotta help us, we gotta get Juji to get with this chick. And at this point in the story, I'm like, what is happening? what hijinks are we into right now? And what we see is that as the story progresses, we see that eventually Juji joins in the fray, and he's like, hey, what's up, guys? And Nobara is thinking to herself, like, oh my god, I might have messed up, because maybe Juji doesn't remember her. And then what if he's like, who are you? Do I know you? And that'll break the chick's heart. Oh no, I messed up. And you see that Juji does remember the chick. And then we cut to a flashback, and we pretty much see how it all came to be. How we see that she always liked Juji, and you see that there's some guys talking to Juji, and they're like, oh, who would you date? It's like, oh, I would date any chick. It's like, would you even date that chick? It's like, sure. It's like, why would you date her? She's fat and all these mean stuff. And he's like, okay, what does that have to do with it? I think she's great. She has pretty handwriting, and she has some good, eating habits. I don't see what's wrong with her. I'll date her. And that's something that really stuck to her, because she was like, wow, this guy was actually nice about it. And then we just see that they're talking, and eventually, it seems like he walks her to the bus station, or she walks him to the bus station, because they go their separate ways. And then we find out that I guess they didn't even share phone numbers at the end of the day, because Nobara brings that up, and she's like, well, it's okay. She can always hit me up just in case she wants to get at him. So it was a nice little side plot, kind of touching when it came to the flashback involving that chick. I thought it was, just more development in Juji's part, in the sense that he's always, been a very chill, nice person as a whole. And I think that added a little bit more of characterization to his character as a whole. Now, going forward after all that is that we get to pick up and we see that one of the teachers of the opposing school during the tournament arc, she tells Nobara, Megumi, and Juji that they're going to go on this mission, and it's a special mission because they're going to confront who they're assuming is the traitor all along. And she's like, okay, well, there's only one person that it's suspected right now, and that person is Mekamaru. And obviously Juji and them, they're like, why are we suspecting him? And then she just pretty much goes like, by process of elimination, he just seems like the most sus out of all of them. Fair enough, fair assessment. And their whole plan is we're gonna invade where he's staying at, and we're gonna ask him questions because if he is guilty, we don't want to kill him. Obviously, we're gonna get questions and see how much do the enemies know, as well as what has he told people. And so they go down this basement thing and they are about to confront him, and when they open the door, nobody's there, and apparently he's been in another area. And that everybody's shocked. They're like, okay, well, that answers our question. He is a traitor. So it was confirmed 100% that Mekamaru was the traitor all along. And to be honest, that's something that I didn't quite predict myself, but I see going forward why that happened, because what we pick up and we see is that the reason he betrayed, his school as well as, the whole Jujutsu community was because he made a deal with Mahito and, Geto. And the whole deal regarding them two was pretty much, it was Mekamaru was like, okay, I'll give you all the information you want, but in exchange, you'll give me a body. You'll give me a body that's, curse free and I can roam freely in. And he's like, okay, fair enough. And pretty much Mahito keeps he keeps his end of the deal. He goes and gives Mekamaru his body back, but he's like, okay, well, now that this is over, our bow is broken, like that's it, so now I can kill you now. Though I wasn't gonna kill you until then, but I give you your body back as I promised, so I can kill you now. And Mekamaru was prepared for this. I think he's always known that at the end of the day they were gonna betray him, because he was going to be a loose end, and he can always just talk to Gojo and the rest of them, like let them know like, hey, this is what they're planning for Shibuya. And what happens is Mekamaru, he automatically just gets all his puppets and he's ready to fight Mahito, and he starts fighting Mahito, and Mahito is just kind of easily disposing of all his puppets. Now, on a side note, I wanted to point out, am I the only one that thinks that the Mekamaru looks just exactly like Aki from Chainsaw Man? My man had the same drip. Like, when I was looking at him, I was like, is that Aki? Like, it took me a second to like, realize like, oh no, that's Mekamaru. But I know I can't be the only one. I know that, come on, I'm not the only one that thought that he was Aki, right? I just can't be. But what happens is pretty much they're fighting, and eventually, Mekamaru was like, listen, I'm gonna take you out. Like, I don't care what I have to do, but I'm gonna destroy you. And he, out of nowhere, gets this huge mech. And this huge mech, like, Mahito's like surprised, like, what is this? Like, are you serious? He's been building this all along. And what we see is that he gets this mech, and Mekamaru's whole entire plan right now is he wants to relay all this information to Gojo or anybody outside. However, Geto, he put this veil, and we know that, during any veil, there no communications, nothing can, exit whatever it's inside that veil. So he knows that what he has to do is take care of Mahito, but at the same time, he needs to make sure that he has enough curse energy to take out Geto. So throughout it all, he's very conscious in the fact that he cannot wear himself out, because if he were to eliminate Mahito, he still has to fight Geto, and I'm sure that he knows that Geto's even stronger than Mahito. So throughout this fight, they're fighting, and eventually, he starts thinking about the people. Like, he's like, okay, he starts thinking about Mia, and he's saying like, I gotta make sure that they're all safe. And just as a side note, Mekamaru, you're a man with taste. Mia, awesome girl, great girl, arguably the best girl. I know people say she's useless, but I don't care. She's just a nice girl. She's cool. She's very chill. No ill words in Mia's part for my behalf. Never. But what happens is pretty much he fights Mahito, and eventually just ends how the episode ends. He just blasts a huge blast of curse energy that apparently was a year's worth of stock of curse energy, because he had been stocking up all his curse energy. And we see that he has up to 17 years. So if that was 1 year, I can only assume if he were to use 10 years. But that's how the episode ends. And thus far, I'm really enjoying Shibuya. Now, I know that this is not even the best part. We're just getting into it. We're, easing our toes in the pool right now. And if this is how it's going to start, I can only assume how it's going to end. And I'm very, very excited to see where the story goes, because, the Shibuya incident's almost here. It seems like, the big events are happening right now. Now, with all that being said, what did you guys think about this week's episode? Did you guys love it? Did you guys hate it? Did you guys thought it was all right? Whatever you guys thought, let me know in the comment section down below. Also, thank you so much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Jujutsu Kaisen, as well as more anime and manga content in the near future. But yeah, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.